that's what happens when you have a foggy chain of command, you know, and there's always a little tension between like the State Department and the military, and it's just very, very challenging. And if you don't have people that have experience to be like, oh, we got a problem, here's what we need to do. Just the little debate that you just brought up of, should we wear plain clothes or should we wear our combat uniforms? Dude, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, as if Codey Gandy rolls into freaking Libya and people are like, oh, is he a local? Like a freaking 6'1" white dude with blonde hair and blue eyes. There's no one's like, oh yeah, he must just be a local, just out on a daily walk, you know, and he's in shape and he's wearing freaking 5'11" pants, Oakley sunglasses. Like it's just bullshit. And they're like, oh, we might want to go low this. Who are you gonna fool? Who are you fooling? You're not fooling anybody. But bureaucrats will get caught up in this kind of thing. They'll get caught up in things that don't matter. Yeah. What matters is we have people on the ground that are being attacked, and we need to provide them reinforcements right now. We should have them overhead assets in minutes, like 20 minutes, to get overhead assets there, and we should have other ground troops there. Dude, this is not a big area of the world. This is like, where were you in Rhoda? That's not a far flight. This isn't a 12-hour flight. This should be happening so much more rapidly. But the bureaucratic people, and there's also a lot of risk aversion because, well, if the embassy's under attack, what if the attack increases and now we send more guys and now they're in trouble too? Maybe more guys get killed. I don't want to take that risk. It's like, no, wrong answer. This is America. We have an embassy in trouble. We go and we secure that embassy, period, end of story. By the way, we have the air assets above to keep the people on the ground relatively safe in most situations. So you finally, where do you land? The airport in Tripoli or something like this?
Yeah, we land up there. We deload all our stuff, and we have these. We're working with the Department of State, which I didn't really know until actually we got there and kind of figured out what we're doing. But we land, and there's just these souped up SUVs, and you're talking bulletproof windows. You got the ability to put like a M240 in the back and pin out the window, and it's just all this high-speed vehicles that land there. And so we load all this stuff, and we head to this main site, which, at least my interpretation at the time, was this was a designated spot where they're going to rebuild the embassy. So the Benghazi embassy, it's gone. It's destroyed. Mm-hmm. You can see the pictures online. And so they designated this new area close to the embassy where we're going to reconvene, because you have all these people at the embassy where they have nowhere to go. Mm-hmm. And so the Department of State, I believe, set up this new, satellite place, and that's where we were going to go. So we rolled in, and it's just, it's just pandemonium. It's just crazy. We're just, crashing into cars, trying to get there, like just whatever you can think of the carnage. Like, we're just trying to get there as fast as we can, because, at 19, I'm like, what's going to be there when I get there is the mindset. And you let an 18-year-old drive this, indestructible vehicle in the city, they're going to do whatever they want. So we drive there, there's just 35 of us, so we break up into teams. We eventually get there, and it's very anticlimactic on the arrival. The whole debate on low vis, full kit, like, to your point, it didn't freaking matter, because we got there, it's super dark, we're clearing these buildings, which have already been cleared, like, before we got there. Eventually, we link up with the Department of State, and now we're just, hey, we need to immediately set security while everybody reconvenes to our location. So that was the initial, on the ground, the first thing that we do is we get to this new satellite campus. Everybody reconvenes at our location, and now we're going to hold fast while they rebuild the embassy here. There, that was the mission. Is embassy's gone. This is going to be the new location for the embassy.
So they just secured some. You guys secured some buildings, some random buildings in a compound that have a wall around it. Was it
nope.
No? Just sucked.
So that was part of the mission. Was you have to be the security while they build the wall.
Mm-hmm. Sun comes up. Are you guys anticipating like, hey, we're going to get attacked when the sun comes up, or
there's a lot
not
of
really think through that?
I mean, that's what we're, hoping for at the moment.
Check.
But obviously, like, my perspective at the time is there's only 30 of us, and so really the ROEs are very strict because, in our minds, like, help's not coming. So if you do anything dumb, shoot, like, we're fucked is what's going to happen. So very strict on what we're supposed to do. sun comes up, there's a lot of intel reports on like people are moving towards the area, and we hear all these potential riots and gathering and stuff like that. And you know, the ROEs, it's everything's got to be non-lethal is the course of action, just to not stir anything up. But you know, for the 3 months that we were there, it was all just, you know, smokes and mirrors on what's actually happened. It was all this what ifs, what's going to happen, but it was very stagnant and just, hey, we're going to hold it down while they rebuild the embassy here.
Mm-hmm. So then how many days do you end up on the ground there?
We got there, you know, September 12th in the morning, and we stayed right before Christmas.
Okay, so you're on the ground for a while. Did anybody ever attack you guys?
No, you had people kind of approach the perimeter, and you're sending non-lethal, you know, the, what are those, like the riot grenades?
Yeah.
Those
crash grenades?
Yeah, the stinger beat, I can't remember what they're called, but those fun things. Mm-hmm. You have your VCPs and ECPs of people coming in, coming out. You had some people there, some tier 1 guys with beers. We don't know what they were doing. That would bring people in and interrogate them, and we would hold security while they interrogated in the building and stuff like that. But that was really the extent of it. Were you guys eating MREs, or did you guys quickly get supply of local food or something? Initially, it was MREs. We brought all that. We brought all the water. But eventually, they set up in one of the buildings like a place where they could cook for us and stuff like that. So we split into 2 satellite places. So we broke the platoon into half. So it was really 15 and 15. So it was small enough to where we could feasibly do that.
Check. Any major lessons learned that you brought home from that, and how did that? I'll ask you that question first.
Biggest lesson learned was just information in itself and how powerful it can be. So part of like the flight over and everything was there was just this constant theme of unknown, and that unknown caused a lot of panic and craziness. And actually, you know, Sean Glass, who you just had on again for the second time, I just worked with him up at NYPD, and he was talking about, you know, during training, they were trying to see what stressed out the SEALs the most. And what ended up being the most stressful thing was just standing on the outside of the door, going into the building. That unknown factor is what stressed people out the most. And I saw that in real time at 18 and 19, and how information can help mitigate that unknown. But oftentimes as leaders, we withhold, or our team doesn't need to know, or I don't even know myself, and we don't tell people, which ends up, you know, that gets down to the troops, and they're coming to that worst case scenario on their own, on like, hey, my boss is stupid. They don't know what's going on. Like, we shouldn't really be here. Like, all that can come from not just sharing vital information. So from that, you know, deployment in itself, I figured if I was in a position, whether it was a fire team leader, squad leader, platoon sergeant, if I had the ability to share insights or information, that could help bridge the gap between the chain of command or keep the troops involved is what I wanted to do. Yeah, that's important. You know, the idea that the high level of stress comes before you enter the door, right? That's like such factual. I can imagine that they got guys with heart rate monitors and sweat monitors, and we're watching them like, oh, here they come. They're coming to the door, and it's peaking out. And now that once they go in the room, it's like everything calms down. They start to understand what's happening. I think that I have been conditioned in like every aspect of my life to open the door. But like, I don't like that unknown, just like most people don't. But I think at a certain point I realized it's better just to open that freaking door and go handle whatever's in there. That's much more that's much easier to deal with than I'm going to stand here and ponder how terrible this could be. And the reason that's in a small scale is like, oh, I don't know what's in this room. I'm going to open the door. We're going in. But on a bigger scale is like what you went through in Benghazi. Like, hey, we don't know what's happening on the ground. We've got forces that we could send. And instead of going, just send people there. Just kick open the door. In this case, it's, you know, send another force. But that mentality, especially again from like people that haven't been in combat, people that are bureaucratic types, they're trying to figure everything out from the outside. The answer's in the freaking room. The answer's on the ground. The answer when there's a problem with a business or there's a problem with a situation, the answer is like, oh, go open the door and see what's happening. And when you don't open the door and see what's happening, you're going to sit outside and not understand it completely. And then you're going to, in a worst case scenario, you're going to get more and more nervous and worried and paranoid about what's going on. And it's going to cause more and more problems. And it's going to cause you to hesitate more and more, which causes things to get worse. So freaking go, you know? That's my long way of saying go.
go. Just go.